Okay, hey guys, this is Russ with bishopswest.com. Um, Doing the third in a series of videos about just things that I like about Bitwig Studio, some of my favorite features, or in some cases it's going to be the way to do things that's more efficient maybe than I found in other DAWs. So that's what I'm talking about today. I want to talk about track routing options, kind of how to do different things. So I guess you might wonder, why do I have Cakewalk open then? Well, I just wanted to show you kind of a little bit how I'm used to doing things in the past with my DAW, and then transition from that into what I do with Bitwig Studio. So here you can see I've got a couple folders. The first one is just a vocal folder, and you can see I've got a couple tracks. And so what I've done is kind of more traditional, where down here I've got my master bus, I've got my mix bus that goes to the master. Just to show you that, here's the output. And then I've got a sidechain low compression, and then, which I'll talk about a little bit more, but then I've got a Vox bus, drums bus, and you can see this is going to the mix, drums is going to the mix, bass I'm sending to that sidechain compression bus. And what that's doing is I'm using usually the bass drum as a trigger for sidechain compression, so that every time the kick hits, it lowers the volume of the bass. Okay, and then because I'm doing it, I'm using kind of a multi-band setup, which isn't the point of this video at all, but I'm using a multi-band setup so that it's only ducking the lower frequencies and leaving everything that doesn't conflict with the kick drum alone. It's not touching that at all. Anyways, so I've got the bass drum going to that, and then I've got a keys bus, same thing, that sidechain compression, and guitars as well, I'm sending to that sidechain compression bus. So this is just kind of how I've traditionally set it up. So you can see my vocals here going to that vocal bus, and you can even tell if I scroll up, the color kind of matches the bus down here. And then in another folder, I've got this VST Thorn from Computer Music. I really enjoy this VST, by the way. It's a fun one. But anyways, so I can change my output. Right now I've got going, just to show you, to this aux1 track. The reason I did that is to show you that you can send several tracks to the same aux track here, which is a relatively new feature in Cakewalk, one that I don't think has been around for very long, but I've started using that a little bit. Just, it's like summing certain tracks before you send them to a bus, which can be useful in some cases. But what I can do as well is, maybe I want to send this to my keys bus. So you see when I do that, the color follows the color of the keys, which is pretty handy. Really good for organization, I think. Now the thing about it is, I've got all these in this folder. That's good for project organization, but you can't do anything actually with this folder track. So if I click on here, there are no options. It tells you what's in it, but there's no options as far as routing, like adding effects or anything like that. Okay, so that's just to give you an idea of kind of where I'm coming from and what I was going to try to do within Bitwig Studio. Okay, so let me get Bitwig open here. Okay, so a new project. So you can see I kind of started going down that road with this default template. I've got this sidechain compression bus down here. And so then when I would create a new track, audio track, I would set it up and I'd say, okay, I want to send that to sidechain compression. I could use that as my bass track. And so what I started to do was add more and more of these effects tracks. And if you don't know, these tracks down here at the bottom are effects tracks. You can say show those, hide them. Okay, just for the sake of this, I've got them shown. And so I would start adding another bus, say a drum bus, so I could add compression to all the drums, or a keys bus, Vox bus, whatever it was. Okay, not super efficient, but that's just kind of what I was used to. Then I realized, well, wait a minute, maybe I could use this as, let me rename this, kind of the same idea like the aux track that I had going in Cakewalk, where I could, once I get this set up, send other tracks to it. In fact, I've seen that done in Ableton Live, where you have, like for example, a drums track, and then maybe your sidechain compression track, and so you would send everything that needs that sidechain compression, send the audio to this sidechain compression track here. So just to keep it going, so that would still be sending to the master track, but then, well, sorry, in this case I would send it, for example, to the drums track, and so it would go to that, and then find that I don't honestly I really don't like that, just because you don't see any colors to kind of key you into how things are routed. You actually have to look to see where the output is going, or if you click on here, it'll show you over here that it's routed to the drums track. So that's all well and good, but what I ended up doing, and obviously looking at videos on YouTube and everything, figured out that the best way to do it is, if I open, sorry, click on this, go to templates, and I ended up setting up a template with a bunch of different groups. Okay, so, and this is fun, because what this does is it allows you to determine how everything is routed, but it's a very familiar paradigm if you've used Windows or any computer system really, where you've got folders within folders within folders. Now I know that recently Ableton Live added the ability to kind of do the same thing, groups within groups. Right, so, just didn't mean to do that, sorry, I meant to expand. So this is kind of the same thing. So now I've got, if you remember what I showed you in Cakewalk, it's got the master bus, but then I've got a mix bus that goes to the master bus, and that's just because I don't like really putting anything on the master bus except maybe for a limiter. All of my other effects or volume automation, any of that kind of thing, I'll put on the mix bus. So I did the same thing here. I've got this mix bus, information, and you can see that it goes to the master bus. But then within this folder, now I've got a Vox, drums, that load sidechain compress that I showed you earlier. It's doing the same thing, but within that now I've got the bass, keys, and guitars. Okay, and then yeah, just for fun, I'll bring this same there. I've got my thorn, lead, autumn, because I like this preset. And so what I can do then is grab this, take it up into the keys folder, and there it sits. And so then what's cool about this, and what's different at least from Cakewalk, is that on each of these folder tracks, the group tracks, you can actually have effects. So if I expand that, show the devices, you'll see that I've got this multi-band splitter, whatever they call it, and then on the low part there's my compression. So I'm doing the same thing, or I've got my low sidechain compression going, and then all I need to do is, once I get some drums in there, choose the device input as the kick drum from whatever drum set I use. Okay, now what's interesting too about this is, looking at it this way, it's pretty cluttered. So what you can do is, let's see, maybe this is a good example. Go into here, I'll right click on this, and I'll say enter group. and all of a sudden it takes you, so it only shows that group. So here's that group folder, but now it calls it the drums master. And this is where you'll put your compression to kind of glue all the drum tracks together. And then you've got your main drums, you've got percussion if you have anything in there, and then your drum machine, whatever clips or whatever else you choose to put in there. Okay, so once I'm done, then I just click this little exit arrow. The other thing though that you can do is if you click this, it'll show you all of your folders and everything that you've got going. So you could just click on one of those, and it'll take you right into that folder. Pretty cool. I like that as far as organization. The other thing I wanted to show you is just in your mix screen. It's kind of the same thing where you're still, so in arrange, I was just within the low sidechain compression folder. So when I click on mix, it preserves that. It keeps me showing just that. And then way over here, you can see where you would usually have the master. In this case, it's just a folder because in this situation, this is kind of the master for this folder. Okay, and then I can go back up. And same thing, I can, collapse or expand folders as needed and see as much or as little as I need to see. So it's kind of cool. To me, really cool. I'm kind of an organization freak sometimes. So this really fits the way I like to see things and the way I like to work. I think that's all I had for you today. If you have any questions, definitely please let me know in the comments below. If I missed anything or if you know of a better way to do things, absolutely put it in the comments. Please like and subscribe to my channel. That would mean a lot to me. Again, it's just another way to keep the conversation going, to keep in touch with you guys, to let you know what's going on or if I have new videos, any of that kind of thing. The other thing is, like I mentioned before, I've got a guide for getting set up in Bitwig so you can get to making your music quickly. It's just a few easy steps, free download. If you go to my website, bishopswest.com/Bitwig setup, it's a free download. Just enter your email and I'll send you an email with a link to get that. I think that's it. Have a great day, guys, and I will talk to you next time. Thanks.